think we're good. All right, so Dave, hit it.
Welcome to our presentation of Germans from Russia. I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Dave Feist, F-E-I-S-T. And I was born in Hague, North Dakota, little town in south central North Dakota in Emmons County. But I only lived there for a year. My parents and family moved to Bismarck, North Dakota, where I grew up. And of course, I'm a full-blooded German from Russia on both sides of my family. All my grandparents were born in Russia. And I'm going to say Russia, but it's actually present-day Ukraine. Everything we talked about as far as Russia, back then it was Russia, but it's present-day Ukraine. So we have a kind of a connection to what's going on in Ukraine now, because that's where our ancestors' homeland is really. Okay, so why? The question normally is asked is why would all these Germans go from wherever they're living in Russia or in France, where my ancestors came from? Why would they just pack up and leave and go to Russia? Well, there was a lot of turmoil in Europe at the time. Napoleon was rolling through everywhere, taking over every country that he could. And in fact, speaking of wars and taking over, Catherine the Great had her army go down and take over all that land in Ukraine, Russia, South Russia, from the Turks. She just took it. So now she's got all this empty land. She needs to get people in there to start cultivating the land and populating it. So in 1863, she put out a manifesto to invite not just Germans, but anybody in Europe to come to this land. And she gave them the following privileges in that manifesto. Well, actually, these privileges were amended somewhat, because she didn't get much response from her first manifesto. Hardly anybody took advantage of it. So she deviated a little bit. And then her grandson, Alexander I, he really put some enticements in there. Free transportation to the areas of settlement, which didn't mean a whole lot because it was an arduous journey. They had to go to all these boats, oversized boats, and free land and interest-free loans, the right to create their own self-ruled colonies, religious freedom and the right to build churches and schools, and 30 years of tax exemption. That was a big one. And exemption from military service. That was also a very big thing to the Russians, or Germans rather. And the privileges were not just extended to the German immigrants, but to all their children and descendants. No matter if they were born in Russia, they would still get these. So she got a limited number of people to move to Russia. But Alexander is the one that repeated her invitation. And he sent agents all over Europe trying to get people to sign up, giving them all these enticements. But he put a lot of extra requirements on all the Germans. No single men. They had to be married families. They had to show actually that they had money. They didn't want all the kinds of destitute people to go down there looking for handouts and things like that. So they did get many people sign up for this. And the first ones that you would ask before about the Bulgars, they were the very first group that immigrated to Russia, followed by the Black Sea Germans, so farther south. All total, there was 100,000 German immigrants that went to Russia between 1863 and 1871. They traveled by boat for the most part. but some of them went overland in carts pulled by oxen. And I was reading how so many people actually died on the road. Children got diseases. It was very unsanitary, and it was a horrible trip. And most of the, depending on which route they took, it was between 1,300 and 1,500 miles that they had to actually travel to get to where they were going. And then once they got there, the German or Russian government promised they'd have housing for them. Not the case. When they got to this land, that's all it was, barren land. They had to start from scratch. They had no place to live. They had to start building their sod houses. And it was pretty horrible at the beginning. A lot of hardships that they had to endure. So they set the villages up in straight roads with the town, with the main street down the middle, all the houses on the sides. And then all the land around them was given to them. That's where they went to farm. They had to leave their houses every day, go out to the farms, and then come back in at night. And each house had a barn right next to attached to it. So their animals were, I mean, right there with them. But that's what everybody did, the same thing. Now, all the villages all through Russia was just almost identical. So because they had freedom of religion, they were allowed to build their own churches, which was a very important thing to them. Not every village was able to build a church, so they put them in certain villages, and then everybody had to go to that village. Eventually, just about every village had their own church, which made it a lot easier. But if you were didn't have a church in your village, every time a child was born, you had to take them all the way to the church to get baptized, which was in my case where my ancestors came from, and what they call it's the blue area right here. It's the Kuchergan area, and they were like 5, 6, 7 miles apart every village. So you go from the farthest to the closest to the farthest, you're talking quite a few miles, maybe 20 miles that they had to travel. So life was pretty good at the beginning. 300 mother colonies were established, and then a total after they started establishing daughter colonies because they ran out of land at mother colonies. There was 3,000 colonies total that were established in South Russia. And like I said, everything was good until 1871 when Alexander II revoked all the privileges. All of a sudden, their children had to go into the army. They can't self-rule anymore. They start paying taxes. There was so much jealousy by the actual Russians that's part of what caused all this. And the Russian government did away with serfdom, though they were all considered peasants now. No rights more than anybody else. So that started movement to get out of there. Oh, they had to, they started Russification process, which means everybody had to learn Russian. They had to, I think they started tearing down churches, if I'm not mistaken. On top of, they just wanted them to be Russian citizens. Forget your German heritage. Don't speak German. They started teaching Russian in schools, and it was a miserable place to live, basically.
So did they have to then lose their German citizenship?
Well, they pretty much lost that when they left.
Oh,
When
okay.
they went into Russia. They were
Okay.
basically Russian citizens while living there. So now they're gonna go find a better place again, doing this whole thing all over again, that they did to begin with. I can only imagine what my grandparents were thinking at the time, how do you up and take off to a country on the other side of the ocean? That you've never been to, give up everything again, leave friends behind, because not everybody decided to leave Russia, which was a real downfall for them. They had to pay a lot of consequences by not going. So the immigration began to US, Canada, and South America. Those three basically. The US, of course, got the most immigrants.
So to, but
Sure.
were the Russians, happy to get rid of them? I
Well,
mean, if they let, because they probably.
the
let
original
them go.
agreement was for them to leave anytime. That was
Oh,
part of
okay.
the deal
Oh,
when they first got there, that they could leave when they wanted to. Eventually, the Russians wanted every German out, and
okay,
they started. That's a whole different story.
right,
I'm not gonna go into that part, but that could be a whole nother presentation,
Yeah.
because from 1871 on, it got really ugly for all the Russians,
okay,
the German Russians.
yeah.
So the immigration started. The Homestead Act was very enticing to the German people, because they're gonna get free land again. But they had to cross the ocean, and that was an arduous journey in itself. And then, they just got to the US, and they just started scattering, grabbing the homestead land wherever they could get it. In my particular instance, they ended up in North Dakota, south central North Dakota. My first set of grandparents traveled to the US in 1892 and settled in Strasburg, North Dakota. It's kind of interesting. There's a Strasburg, Russia on there.
Oh, it's- so where did they depart from, your family?
The ship, they had to make their way all the way up to Hamburg, Germany,
Oh, my God.
to get to the US.
Wow,
And my dad's parents left 2 years later. And in 1894, and they ended up settling in almost the same area, about 15 miles south of Strasburg, in the place where I was born, in Hague.
Wasn't Lawrence Welk from Strasbourg?
Yep, he was. He went to school with my mother. Their farms were very close to each other, and they went to country school together. And my parents were big fans of Lawrence Welk.
everybody wants.
They would record his, I gave him a little tape recorder one time, a little cassette recorder. And they would record all his shows, and I still have those tapes to this day. I can't throw them away. But I mean, they would just tape it right off the TVs.
Yeah,
And my dad always sang in a choir. And when my brother passed away, I got all the stuff that he had before he passed away. He knew it was coming, so he shipped everything to me that he had from our family. And one of them was a 33 1/3 record. It was a recording of my dad in the church choir in Hague, North Dakota, singing. And I could hear his voice in there when I listened to it. He and my cousin, they sang together in there all the time. And you could just hear their voices in there. So that's one of my treasured items as well. I'm very happy that my brother said that to me. So what else can I tell you about this? Any questions? I know I went over kind of quickly.
There were people who went before the 1860s, were there not?
Yeah, there was a few that went over there. During my research, I found some of them went to outside of St. Petersburg. There's a big German congregation up there. That was kind of strange, but they weren't invited or anything, we just decided to go.
Were some of the colonies organized around their religion?
All of them. The Kuchgan area where my ancestors came from, all six, there were six villages there, they're all Catholic.
Well, I understood that the Catholics and the Protestants, the Lutherans, settled in two different areas, and the Catholics more east towards the Caspian Sea, is that true? And the more the.
Well, there was a few Catholic,
Obvious.
there was a few Catholic areas. Kuchagan was one of them. Barasan was a Lutheran one. That's where my wife's family came from. They were all Lutherans. Yeah, every area was basically based on belief. They
Mennonites,
congregated it.
Mennonites.
And Mennonites. Of course, they were there because they didn't want to have their children in the military. And they were the first ones to leave once the Alexander revoked all the privileges and they had to register for the military. Mennonites were the first ones to get out. Well, a lot of them went to Canada.
Do you know where the Mennonites were?
Yeah, there's one of them that shows them on. Yeah, there it is, right. The blue. The Mennonites have been dealing with the Germans from Russia Heritage Society and making available a lot of they're transcribing or digitizing all the records that they have and making available to our city.
Where are they doing that? That's not Bismarck too, or where are they?
Yeah, they're sending them to Bismarck.
Where are they? Where is their center where they're doing that?
The Mennonites
Yeah.
in Canada. Oh, they're doing it in Canada.
You know where?
I'm not really sure.
Here's one of the main ones for Canada. It's not the only one, but you need to know that it's large there. This is Bloemen North community, and we've tried to collect the histories that we can. So, because it'll tell you how the village systems ended, etc. And they'll tell you who the people are in here. So,
You said that they were promised, when they were gonna go to Western Ukraine, they were promised that they would have housing. Who promised the housing?
The German government.
The German government.
I keep saying it.
Yeah.
Russian government.
Russia.
Yeah, that was part of their ploy to get them to go there, but they had no intentions of building all these houses for them.
Did they have to displace people if this was land taken from or acquired? This is acquired from Turkey, do you know?
Oh, it was all barren land. There was nobody
So there
living in
was-
that area. When they got there, it was just open, wide open
A
prairie.
decent farmland though.
It's very good farmland there. The only problem is it never been cultivated up to that point. So they had a difficult time plowing the sod, basically. It was tough to get started, but pretty soon they had orchards and fields of wheat.
So Ukraine has like 25% of the black topsoil in the world.
yeah.
Wow. That's,
And when they were trying to decide where to go in the US, that, they identified with South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, all this farmland.
Kansas.
That-
1863 and, Lincoln's Homestead Act opened all of that.
1963.
Am I interrupting?
No, you go right ahead.
Well, the story I've always heard was the Catherine the Great, when they traveled with her and the Tsar, traveled to their winter palace at Black Sea, would travel through this land, and she saw this, and nobody's farming it, nobody's using it.
Exactly.
She convinced the Tsar that,
Yep, that's what she wanted to do, was
Yeah.
get this all settled as much as possible. She wanted, like I said, mostly she wanted the German farmers, right? And craftsmen. You needed craftsmen to go along with the farmers too. Blacksmiths and things like that. They had to go hand in hand with farming.
And we do have the Catherine the Great books and so on back here.
Yeah, she was quite a lady.
I would think, I guess.
So where do you find electronically, where do you find your people? What database is online?
That comes from, I've got the somewhere. One of the handouts I have some information. Where I get most of my from is from the Germans from Russia Heritage Society. I guess I can talk a little bit about that.
Where's that, this one? Is it in Russian or German?
No,
That's the hard part.
no, this is all in English. I am very involved in the Germans from Russia Heritage Society. I'm on the board of directors. I volunteer to handle the username and passwords, the genealogy database, the email program. I'm a sucker for volunteering. My wife says I can't say no to anybody.
Good to know.
But I really enjoy doing all. It keeps me busy. And you know, I'm way up here in Montana now. I lived in Rapid City for almost 30 years. And I became a member of the Black Hills chapter in 2012. And the minute I walked in the door, everybody welcomed me and they voted me onto the board of directors. I couldn't say no.
They were waiting for you.
They said I was the best thing that ever happened. So the same night that they voted me onto the board, they made me their treasurer. Which I couldn't understand. I said, you just met me. I just and you trust me with your money? And they said, you're German, aren't you? I said, yeah, that's good enough for us.
So did you learn German then?
No.
The parents.
Oh, my parents spoke there. My grandparents always spoke. They never spoke English. I could never talk to my grandfather. I liked him. Remember, as a kid, he died when I was 10. But whenever we'd be together, we just look at each other and smile at each other. You know, it's all we could do. We could talk to each other. But he was a pretty nice guy. I liked him. My grandma was sick all the time. She was at our house a lot, in bed. Especially after he died, she was at our spot in Bismarck. She finally passed away 5 years after he did.
Are they the ones in your family that immigrated?
So besides Feist, what other surnames did you have?
My mom's mother, her last name was Lowinger. And there's Cambites and Heilmans in my farther up in my tree on the Cambites, K-A-M-B-E-I-T-Z, I think it is.
Never heard that.
That blue book right there is going to tell you a bunch. Dave is being really, Dave needs to tell you how many people that he shepherds in this string of emails, etc. How many people do you work with?
And as far as what, the email program?
The email programs that you have and the other things.
Well, we have about 1,500 people on our email list that I administer. I'm one of the administrators of the list. But included in that email program that we have is what we call listservs, which is the heart of our society. These are groups like the Kutragon has its own listserv. It's called Regional Interest Group, or RIGs. Anybody that has ancestors that came from that region, all in this one group. We have about 170 people that are in the Kutragon group alone. And we talk to each other. You send emails, you send it to the list, and it goes to 170 people automatically. So then you comment, you reply, and you go back and forth. Hey, I'm having trouble finding this relative and this relative, and where can I find this? And we help each other out. Everybody helps each other. You get a new person in there that joins the list. Everybody is accommodating to them. Anything they can do to help. So we have about 6 of those regional interest groups. They're all from a different area, like Crimea has their own, Bessarabia, Bearsong, Gluckstall. I just like that name, Gluckstall.
Did you want to look at any of these?
The Volgas, yeah.
Now, Volgas. The Volgas are under a different organization. These are the Volga Germans, American Historical Society of Germans from Russia. They are based in Lincoln, Nebraska. They're not in competition with us. We don't dislike each other. They're just from a different area in Russia. They have different records. A lot of people are saying as the years go by that, you know, we lose so much membership that we're gonna merge with them eventually. Because neither one can probably sustain this for too many more years. And we have many of our members that are double members, that are members in both organizations. So they get the benefit of both of them. They are much larger than the one in Bismarck.
So there are a lot more Volga Germans that came over, or
No,
Well, possibly, I don't know if they're that much more, but they just have a bigger membership.
were they from different areas in Germany so that they were dissimilar?
Yeah, they're from all over Germany. Volgas didn't just come from a certain place in Germany, not necessarily.
Were those also people that were Catherine the Great had influence in their going to the Volga then, or?
Yeah, they were the first ones that took her up on that.
So I have a hotel, sure, on one of my sheets here, but Hesse, German.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in Germany, but I don't know exactly where.
Well, the Hessians were fighting the Revolutionary War on the British side.
No.
and a few of them escaped and came to America and said, we like this land. Yeah.
So.
Question?
It eluded me now, I was formulating.
Well, the Baltic Germans were the only ones invited by Catherine the Great, right?
No.
And
No.
she died in 1799,
Yeah,
and then her grandson invited all of them.
yeah,
once
she,
to the,
nobody actually, the only reason they call them Volga Germans is they said the wrong on the Volga River. That's the
they
reason.
said after she died.
Are there?
No, they were there, I think, in the 1700s or 1870s. They were the first ones to come to settle in Russia.
Yeah, from 1798 forward, there were some there. But the grandson at least paid heed to what Catherine had said, because he parsed out some of those things and said, well, you could have this, but not this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he was thinking the same as she did, but not Alexander II. He was,
Are there Volga Germans in North Dakota?
oh yeah, there's Volga Germans, but most of them,
What's her name?
settled in
Schmidt.
Nebraska.
in Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado has a lot of them.
So was Alexander II her son?
Friends.
Well, it was,
Grand-
Alexander first was the grandson, so it would have been great grandson.
So, okay.
Did the Volga Germans in North Dakota mix with the others? I mean, do they, all the ones I know, I think are from this group here.
I don't know if there's a lot of Volga Germans in North Dakota. There could, I'm sure there's
I
some,
mean, there's certainly cream.
I'm sure there's some, but you know. Black Sea Germans are mostly living in North Dakota, South Dakota.
So you the ones from Bessarabia, you call them Black Sea Germans, is what you call them.
Well, no,
No,
yeah, well, all of these are Black Sea Germans because they're right on the Black Sea.
but not
Close to-
the Kutcher.
Kuchagans are too, yeah, they're considered.
That's all
Black Sea.
called Black Sea.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
all Black Sea Germans.
I was working with Dave a few weeks ago, and I had been doing some research on my sister-in-law's family, who came from McIntosh County in North Dakota, but were Black Sea people. And I thought at the time, I'll get the histories of these, and I've got everything for my sister, all the things, Danzig and so on. And what Dave and I discovered this last week was You know, and by the way, they were Baptist.
Mhm.
They were Baptist and came over as Baptist. So don't just think it was Lutheran, Reformed Lutheran, Catholic, and so on. There were many groups in smaller villages. But what we discovered was Dave is working with a book that we just got called, it just, the name of it is Still. Tell them about it, Dave.
Still. I thought that was somebody's name. The person's name that she was writing about.
I thought it was prohibition.
But turns out that a group of Jewish Germans from Russia who were Jewish settled in McIntosh County. 85 farms, Jewish farmers, all in one area. And the name Still came from when she was being interviewed. And the gentleman asked her if she's still Jewish after she's like the 5th generation author. And she thought that was a little strange that he would ask her if she's still Jewish. I mean, you're either Jewish forever or you're not. Then she started thinking about it later on and she thought, okay, now I understand what he's saying. How did you hang on to that Jewish faith all these generations in North Dakota, of all places? But yeah, I was very surprised. I'm reading that book now.
So it's very interesting. The Wiseman family here were from Bessarabia, I believe. Lenny
Okay.
Wiseman told me that. Yeah,
Very possible.
Yeah. And they were Jewish, yeah.
Here's one of our Bessarabian books. We've got 2 or 3 from Bessarabia.
Huh.
And when you're looking over here, I just brought out a few books this morning. There's a shelf back here. And we tried to give you a list of everything we have. And with the idea also that if you know of other books that we should have, would just tell us. But you're sure welcome to come and look back here and use our resources anytime. We are here to help you with that.
I have a book that part of my family put together into the Schmuckers on the Taub family, and it's very detailed, going way back. Would it be something you're interested in?
Yes,
Schmuckers and Talbot,
Taub, Taube.
Talbot.
No, it's A, no, that would be Tama, that would be.
The spellings.
I'm gonna pass around a couple of documents here.
SCH.
Yeah.
And this is the translation from this, it's all in Russian, of my grandfather's baptism prayer, and which is actually his birth record, was on to his birth date. And this is my grandparents' marriage information, marriage certificate, basically.
But in Russian, not in German.
No, it was all in Russian, because the Russians was the one that kept all the records. These were taken out of the Russian archives and then translated. And then we could purchase these through the Heritage Society. And I have many of these for all my relatives.
and another person, by the way, famous whatever, from Bessarabia, the family here in Great Falls is the Olszewski family. And Al Olszewski has run perennially for governorships
With
or,
the Russia, or with the
yeah, they're
Polish
like,
name.
they're Kashubian, but that's Bessarabia.
I don't know.
And he's a doctor or retired.
So these are the kind of records that we can get now that we have.
I still got some of the original baptism.
Yeah, that's taken right from it. And it looked like the other one, you know, I have both copies. When you buy these, you get both the original ones and the translated.
In Montana, you're gonna see the second and third generations of the colonists to the United States. The second, third generation started homesteading out in Montana, in Colorado, in Nebraska, in the Dakotas, and up into Canada, out into Washington. So it's very interesting when you see those. So you look at some of our local histories around here, and you'll have things like I know that Phil is from Powell. the Power Book has some people. I was just indexing the Augusta book. There are Germans from Russia there and so on. So you will see them coming out, looking, and frequently you can look in those books and say, where did you come from? And sometimes it'll even give you the village. Not often, but it does. But this is just a very, very small segment of things that we have, very, very small.
So the online information have become much easier to get to, obviously, in a digital age, and that sheet with the web addresses on there's some very good ones on there. The North Dakota State Library has an extensive room set aside just for Germans from Russia. And Michael Miller is the one that started that many years ago. He's retired, but that he has a lot of information on their website, as well as the Family Search has a lot of Germans from Russia on it, which I was really surprised when I started finding all that information. Even Wikipedia is full of information. One of the things that you might want to check out as far as you're looking for family names is the Black Sea gr.org. It's listed on the Black Sea German Research. It's kind of a controversial thing with the German Philadelphia Heritage Society, because a lot of those members are former members of the society. They had a division back in 2009. I won't even go into that whole thing. I don't even understand it to this day what happened, but they have all their information on there for free. They have a lot of
What's the name? It's a Black
Sea German.org. It's got all kinds of family trees on there. You can find multiple family names, trees of one name, because everybody's sending their family trees on there.
With all the different spellings.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of different spellings.
Oh, I
Do
know.
you know if you have it in Bismarck, copy of Rosie Schwann's big Schwann family history?
Schwann. I have Schwanns in my family.
Yeah, I mean, my sister great to Schwann, so we have Feist. Yeah. So we're probably connected.
They have a pretty good library out there.
Rosemary Schwann, the youngest.
I would have to look it up on the website.
It's a huge.
They have
beautiful
everything,
document.
they have everything indexed on there, so
I don't know if she gave them what if she didn't.
very possible. A lot of people have donated their family trees to that too. That's in paper form, basically,
Yeah,
you know. You'd have to go to the library, but I love going to the library.
Dave spoke just briefly about the place in Fargo at the university and the considerable materials that they have. That's also a place where they continue to do a lot of translating. Because even when you look at some of these books, people will say, why does that book cost so much? And it's because it had to be translated. A lot of those do.
Now Jan knows a lot more about that. North Dakota State.
Idea.
Germans from Russia there. She's been there. I haven't ever been there.
That is a wonderful room. They are very welcoming. The new director, even though Michael is there and in there frequently, Jeremy is there as the new director and he is finding his way. He's been kind of the new director, I think, for about like 7 or 8 years. And they are very welcoming again with materials and things, recommendations. I would just say this library right here in Great Falls, we didn't ask for it, but we sure got it. We've got books for Germans from Russia. We've got, I don't know, we've got at least 50 listed on this, which is a pretty good basic library. That's what we've been told by the people in Fargo. We always counted on and knew that in the library down in Billings, that they also had quite a group of people from the counties surrounding Billings, Yellowstone, and a couple of other counties where Germans from Russia settled. And that they had materials. Unfortunately, a year and a half ago, the Billings Public Library gave up its genealogy room. And those materials were parsed out across Montana and a few other states. The materials were just given. We ended up with a little bit of their stuff. We already had most of the basic Germans from Russia stuff, but we ended up with a little more. So if you've got books or things that we should be getting, recommend them to us if you would, please. Because now, if you're a person in the Billings area and you're looking for your family, you're gonna be looking online with the neat stuff that Dave has got. You're gonna be looking at a church that you can, and I can't remember the name of the church, but in Billings, I believe one of the Lutheran churches or something. Anyway, they took the small stuff from Germans from Russia that they had, and it's there, but it's locked up most of the time now. So we ended up by default being the library that we know of, at least in Montana, that has the sources, and we're open 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yep, we are 7 days a week, afternoons.
I was totally amazed when I first joined society here, when Jan took me back there and showed me all these books on Germans from Russia. I just didn't expect it. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either. So,
There's some books here that I don't have.
Is it possible to buy a copy of these? I have that one, but haven't seen the other
Not be sorry.
of these
Is
maps.
another-
The maps,
You
yeah.
can buy them at the University of North Carolina. Is it? No, it's
NDSU.
NDSU, and it's Fargo. I'll show you here it is.
Communities.
And they are, I believe they're
Yeah,
25 or
so
$30
they-
a piece.
Started
Yeah.
here now, yeah.
But they're wonderful maps.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's called the
Yeah.
Germans from Russia
How would you
Heritage,
describe that?
Russia Heritage Collection. North Dakota State University.
Right.
And Jeremy is there
Yeah.
5 days a week, I know. So, but yeah,
Good eye.
it's been so wonderful to have Dave here because he's got such a lot of expertise.
Recognize our name
Uh,
now.
I come secondhand to my expertise about Germans from Russia because I've been doing research for the last 10, 12 years on my sister-in-law's family. And they were in McIntosh County, and I found all the records, backward for them. It's been a fascinating thing because I don't know that people realize that there were other places in the world that actually had homesteading eras or offered things homestead wise to people if they would come there. And so I think you could read for a long time about the Germans from Russia and their background in the various areas, because again, even if they got all of their own rules, even if they got their own churches and their own schools and their own language and so on, each one of these developed uniquely, except for the farming plan, as he talks about it. It came straight from the German farming plan in the first place that they saw where they, from which they first came. And of course, that book is not indexed. We wish it was, but, and it's got, I can tell you, I went totally through every name in that book to find,
Oh, my God.
my sister-in-law's family, but I found them.
Oh, my God.
What's their name?
I spent
I
a
do that because-
lot of years going through that. book.
Yeah. In fact,
The first thing you have to figure out is where your ancestors lived in.
because I'm Manny,
That's the first.
so what did I do?
Because then you
I
know
bought the
where
Nancy
to go
book
for records.
for her from McIntosh
And
County.
sometimes
And
it can
then
be
I
difficult
discovered
to
it wasn't
figure out.
indexed, so yeah.
But it's nice that he did this.
Oh, my goodness.
He's not without mistakes.
Well,
One
nothing.
of the big mistakes he made is
It's a
of my
family.
family.
Oh.
He shows
Yeah.
the Feist family coming
So,
from someplace in
yeah.
Germany and.
So,
we-
and I
it
did
didn't
things like
crack.
the
Because up
special
in Grand
section
Forks,
say, okay, this is
It's
almost another
prolific
count
in
today,
detail.
but here's all the things that were ever in.
He
Here's
found
the-
all our family records
Whatever.
in France,
So there, yeah.
which shocked the heck out of me when I first heard that I had relatives that came from France. I'm like, no, I'm not French. German. Well, you have to understand the Alsace-Lorraine area in France is all that area is full of German speaking people. And they've been there for hundreds of years. And now they call them Alsatians, but back then it was German.
So in McIntosh County Cemeteries, there's the Feist family,
Yeah.
age and a half.
I believe it. I had a lot of cousins that
Their mother was born there. Thus, I mean,
What's the name?
well,
So anyway, that's where my
What's
two
hers?
brothers left.
Okay.
The Elson's
That right there
area in
It's, you
18.
actually might wanna look at it and see what you got for Schmidt in that
Russia
book.
and settled. Yeah,
I did,
one of them,
just said,
they were
yeah.
one of the founding families of Strasbourg, Russia. So
she's got.
so that's where my.
This one is,
came from.
yes, but Lang's Kramer's, yeah.
And all
Yeah.
he found all kinds of records in French,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Just so you know,
But he has shared,
back here in our library, all the
he has set the
little
record straight on.
have been re-indexed like this for every single name on every single page.
He and another
Because
cousin
it's
who
not
has
just
passed
big
away
families, it's
since.
the little cowboys, it's the former
they have,
slaves.
gotten it
The
all
little
documented.
people who came and
And it
worked for
actually,
a rancher, they ended up taking.
his
care of
information
the
is
person
on
around.
Black Sea German
So-
research. He wrote sent him a letter explaining everything that happened, how this error was made.
Wow.
But that was a monumental book for him to put together, so he's bound to make
So
mistakes.
yes.
So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, to identify other things.
Yeah.
Where your family
Mistakes.
came
People
to
have
the
found
United States.
mistakes in there.
I know.
My
something
family
about
had a different set of Germans and they went to
family
Minnesota
Germans
first, but I know
because of
quite
one
a
of
bit
your
about that.
patriots here.
The Germans from Russia.
Diane Green
are
did
fascinating
a
because they're so
genealogy.
very good, but
Go way
but
back.
but I'm
early
more interested
1600s,
in the way in the others that
where they
all
came from,
announced,
Germany.
Oh, it does.
Johnson
It
history
does.
helps with all of it.
Yeah, my grandma came when she was 10 in 1886, and it's really fun because she came from Silesia, which today is in Poland, but it speaks a different language still and so on. But my best story about my grandma is she was 10. She hit the United States right on the day that the Statue of Liberty was dedicated. It's just that she came in down at Baltimore.
Oh.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. Yes. So it's, these are all fun. I mean, I went into my little town in Minnesota, her little town, and discovered 2 Catholic churches a block apart. Because some of them spoke German, but the others only spoke Silesian Polish. 2 different churches, 2 Catholic churches. And later on then, I could look and say, ha, but the Silesian one prevailed. And it's gorgeous because it has the Eastern Orthodox element, yeah.
Well, I've read, one time that, the American railroads sent recruiters to the Black Sea region, recruiting when there was so much upheaval in the 1870s and stuff.
Could be.
That the railroads actually had agents there trying to convince people to come to American homestead because all the land was available. The railroads needed people. The towns. So there was quite a recruiting effort by them. Yeah, I heard the same thing.
So then you're gonna look at here.
Have you that down?
recognize.
So let's look at
I've
this
never
one.
heard that.
In 93.
Would be interesting
See
to
what
think
that is. Yeah,
of. Yeah, look up.
they are in,
It surprised me.
Right.
there's Bibles in this book, by the way, too,
Oh,
over here.
there's a lot of faithfully in which.
Yeah.
Faithfully Chevrolet, will sit
There you
there.
go. So, yeah, there are
Could you
names
just
in here.
hold that down for me a little bit so I take a picture?
No, if the Mennonites were enough to put, they came out of Kansas, I think, or at least.
Wish it.
How did they come to?
Some of them came directly. The
Some of the
Mennonites.
people call
I wish we had
Bishop.
our Mennonite specialist here, because we have one.
Oh, really?
Yes, we do. Larry Spicer is a Mennonite specialist for us. He is a retired minister. And came originally from a Mennonite family. And so he could tell you quite a bit, but the Mennonites were persecuted, even in South and North Dakota, and many of them as a result moved up into Canada. That The first move into the United States wasn't the only one. Later on, after World War One, when they were no longer persecuted for their status of not, no, it wasn't German, it was, they wouldn't serve. Then some of them came back down to South Dakota again. But yes, we have it. Larry can tell you a great deal about that. Spicer. And Larry has, yeah, and Larry has been here with our society for 40-some years.
Yeah, he'd know that. Yeah.
And he is frequently in here on Thursday afternoons for sure. What? Is he in here on Tuesday also?
Not always.
Okay, and then Larry is usually with me on Saturdays, except for one Saturday of the month. He's not, but otherwise he's with me back here, or in here on Saturdays, so. And if y'all wanna join and you ever wanna volunteer or anything, we have space for you. And we'll help you. The first rule of the volunteering here is, yes, you can volunteer, but you're also gonna be working on family and we'll help.
We're not automatically the treasurer and then you walk in.
No,
So-
No, that comes the second.
Did you find any family?
I found something.
He found some, give me a
Under
desk.
the lines.
Yeah.
They didn't list that great. That's.
Oh. Well.
So there is
we
one
have a-
story about four
Yeah.
men were chosen in Russia when they were getting ready or thinking about coming to this country. They picked 4 men, 4 young men, and sent them to the United States to go look for land. Where should we move to? So they ended up in Strasburg, North Dakota, is where they ended up. And they got there in the fall, so they stayed there all winter long, got a taste of winter in North Dakota. And they went all the way back to Russia
They were there.
and said, let's go. We found the place that we were
And
settled
it
in.
was, because that's.
And one of them was 4, were a cousin of
And
mine.
Madison's.
So they brought all kinds of people and they settled in. That's where my mom's family settled in Strasburg. She was born and raised on a farm in Strasburg or outside of Strasburg.
It's probably really simplistic, but my idea was the whole villages came over, like the Strasbourg people probably came from the town called Strasbourg there.
Yeah, but not all of them. In fact, I have what they call a plat map, Strasburg. A drawing of the whole map
In Besarabia.
in Kuchagan area.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Strasburg.
I've seen that.
We want a copy of
Yeah.
that.
I think it came with that book. I'm not positive, but when I bought the book, it came with it. It's a pretty good sized map. Anyway, I have it in digital form too. And when I look on there's about 40 households that have the name Feist on. 40 of them. In 1940, that's how many stayed there or their descendants,
So this.
That's
this
50
map
years.
Of Strasbourg there is from 1940.
Yeah, it
That's
was
okay.
done in 1940, and that's where all the,
Do you
so
know,
all those people eventually disappeared.
is it? I don't know if it's fair to assume that the people who formed the town called Strasbourg there in Kuchagan, whether they came from Strasbourg.
They were from.
Did villages come out of place for, I mean,
Mennonites did,
whole village of men,
Yeah.
that's easier to believe.
Yeah.
Other than,
but they were the first ones persecuted. That's one.
See, my other grandparents, they lived in Strasburg also, but they settled in Hague, 15 miles south of there. So,
there's always so much land, so I know it's good, you gotta
Yeah.
have quite a bit.
I don't know what. Wish I could have talked to my grandparents,
Yeah,
why did you go and do what you did? And I have so many questions I would love to ask. But my dad's parents, they died well before I was ever. My dad was the youngest in the family of 11. The youngest, so his oldest sister was born in Russia, actually, she came over with him.
I don't know what is known about the German villages they came from originally.
What's that blue book? We'll tell you
Where they came from in Germany or.
Yeah, that.
His attempt was to show people where they all came
Yeah.
from, what German towns, French towns, wherever.
I wonder-
That was his intent. And to show where they settled. and when. It's just, it's hard, a little difficult to read.
Oh.
Go to the, I have to go to the front a lot of times. It explains what some of the words mean. An ACH.
No, what does that mean?
One of them means from and the other one means to. I
Okay.
remember there's two terms they use all the time.
Yeah, that's, I wrote those two words down because I wasn't sure what it meant.
It's in the beginning of the,
Yes, oh, I didn't check that.
yeah.
So in Germany, when the people did accept the invitation to go to what was part of Russia at that time, did whole villages leave at once from Germany, or was that individuals? And
I
then
don't think
made
they
it-
all left, not the whole village.
Individual.
But they had to organize themselves into a village, then not knowing each other. These are people who knew each other when they got to what they made.
Oh, I'm sure there were some. They went in groups. There were groups that formed. And so we didn't have to go, on their own.
Well, I know, but that's a phenomenon you still see today, where I go to Arizona in the winter. And the community I live in, I mean, there's. Half the town of Kirkston, Minnesota is there. And Fargo, North Pole, somebody knows somebody or their
Have to
cousins
go,
here, and
yeah.
they settle there, and it's just,
Yeah.
word of mouth and. And they sort of accumulate in the same.
They have a North Dakota picnic in Phoenix area every year.
Right.
They do, they have a Montana one too.
Yeah, and I think South Dakota does too.
I think they
And we have
have-
to rent people. It's not enough.
I went last year, or this last.
Oh, in our.
Oh, in your community, yeah, we. Yes.
And they did the same thing, small clusters, if you're out looking at the immigration data in the 14 big ports in the United States, you'll see clusters of these people
Sure.
coming through at the same time.
Mont North, anybody know from Mont, North Dakota?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I spent many a summer.
Well, there's all kinds of people from Mont in our little village.
Yeah, I had a cousin there and my parents would go visit them and drop me off and I'd stay with my cousin. They had a boy that was about my age and we'd go down to the Cannonball River, go fishing. And then they'd come by again in a couple of weeks later and pick me up. They did that all the time with us kids. They dropped us off all over.
So in this book, I didn't go back to the front look, but after it has a name. And then there's like, looks like the year 1812, is that a year?
Yeah,
They might have
that's probably the year that they went to Russia.
Yeah.
Because early 1800s is when a lot of these colonies,
Yeah.
that's what a big influx was happening. And Strasbourg was founded in 1808. That's when they formed that. The whole area, actually, the Kuchega, the village, 6 villages there.
But the maps are, I think, are just so much fun because you see the density of the people who settled there over time, and because you think, oh, there couldn't have been that many people, but there were 100,000 people who lived there in just one small segment of time. And then, like he says, you didn't maybe pick up on it, but Dave says, and after 1940, after that map, those people disappeared. The ones that stayed, they disappeared.
That's
They were displaced.
a whole story in itself, what happened.
The people,
Tell us.
the people who stayed, horrible things happened, Stalin thought they were fifth colonists in the leading up to the Second
They
World War.
accused them of spying
He
for
sent
them.
them all to Siberia and took their land from them because they didn't want to collect the bodies.
Found them in Kazakhstan.
Terrible.
But that was after the hunger. Like John, what they call it,
I think Stalin did it in the 30s. And
yeah, 1932
Yeah, he's-
was when he
he's-
left. But this was not the same thing. That was not the,
Oh, like he
oh,
said,
no more.
there were still people left in Strasbourg in 1940 on that map, but they all disappeared and they did not come to the United States.
They were not part of the Holodomor more. However, said as
We don't
such.
know.
They died in prison.
We have that book, by the way.
Yeah, there's a book called Red Famine that explains the whole thing too, so.
Red famine.
Red Famine.
We're talking.
Yeah, however.
Some people say that Stalin killed more people than Hitler.
Oh,
But
well,
11 people starved them out. They just took every grain of wheat and corn from all the people. I mean, they had the police there every day taking all this stuff. Poor starving people, his own people, not just the
Well, they
Germans.
went after the farmers, after the people who had made something.
Yeah, it's pretty pretty sad.
Grandmother had two aunts that stayed in Russia. One of them starved to death and one froze to death.
They didn't have the money to go over, or they did it.
Or they
Probably
permitted
It was
at
too
that
late.
point.
Well, they were
Oh,
married.
late at
They
the,
were married, and the family stayed
So
there.
about what time was that been?
That would have been, I'd be in the forties.
My grandma's Salesian family that stayed in the area where she was from, they all disappeared by 1949. They were alive right after the war, but they disappeared. So you can see, I say I can see traces of them in the DNA in countries, and begin to trace the families, but yeah, they disappeared, they were displaced.
During and after World War II. A lot of the Germans were, when Germany invaded Russia. A lot of the Germans that were living there, they took advantage of the fact that they could get out and they started going back to Germany. But they had to prove that they had German ancestry, they had to fill out all these forms. They became known as the EWZ records. And if I could only find my exact relatives that were listed, there's a whole bunch of Feists in there, but I don't know how they fit into my family tree. That's one of my projects I'm gonna be working on in the future. But a lot of them were allowed to go back until the Russians came in and defeated the Germans. Well, then they cut that all off. They wouldn't let them out anymore. So a lot of them went back to Germany. I don't know what they went back to. War torn Germany. I just wanted to say something about this map. Our chapter in Rapid City had one made that's about this tall, where it's on a rack to hold up. And we take it to all our presentations to the convention every year, and it's really big, and it's got this on there, but it's magnified to huge. It's very much more detailed, and everybody loves that map. You see it. In fact, the Bismarck chapter asked us if they can reproduce it, so we said, yeah, go ahead. So they've got one exactly like it. But it is very detailed. And you could see it, everything all over Europe better on that map than this.
These,
I should have taken a picture.
these maps, by the way, when you look at your list, the maps are at the very end of this list that I've given you. And they're at the bottom of the second page and beginning of the next page. And when you're looking at it, we have told you a place that is our cabinet. Our room is organized kind of back here by section, and they're called cabinets. In back foot were either shelves just like this, we just call them a cabinet because of our software. And it will tell you exactly where these books are on the shelf. And then these are the descriptors that they're under when you're going across, because we don't use the Dewey, we use the knowledge behind the Dewey Decimal System, because we know you all want to look at location, and you want to say, yeah, that's the one I want because that's South Russia. Yeah, that's the one because it's Bessarabian or whatever. And so that's what these things mean across here in our library back here. It tells you the descriptor and then it tells you our inventory number. This inventory number has nothing to do with a Dewey Decimal System or a Library of Congress number. It's just our numbers so that we can find our books. That's all. Okay. But we are always happy to help you back there. And the maps, by the way, I started out to say, are in our new map drawer, which we got a year ago,
2 years. I think it might be 2 years now.
2 years ago. and they are down in map. I'm sure it's 10. Yeah, it is. These maps have to be down in map drawer 10. It's an international section. Usually I'll tell you, because they get a lot of use, they're on top. Usually. But I will warn you, when you look in there, you do have to be aware of something. The left side of that map drawer are our international tribes, because all the tribes, of course, are identified that way, all US tribes, Canadian tribes and so on. So they are also in that international kit. They are on the left side, all the other maps are over on the right side. So. But you're welcome to come and use.
Do you have these lists too?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we surprised Dave when he came in, because by golly, we had
I
German.
didn't expect to see anything.
Yeah. My husband is still astounded that he bought them.
Is a good man.
Yeah, he is.
Because
That Bob Thompson, he buys a lot of books.
he does.
Let's go.
He's a very generous donor.
Well, any other questions you might have?
How about famous people in America that are Germans from Russia?
You know what? I used to see a list.
Well, there was
Used to
George
see.
Hamilton was it Hamilton? The movie
Montgomery.
actor, Montgomery.
Montgomery, yeah.
It was
And,
local here.
well, he was George Letts from Carter, right?
Well, and they also were, they lived part of the time in Black people. I don't know if
Okay,
you know that.
but they were the Lettses.
The
Lettses,
Letts family.
right? Yeah,
And you'll see the neat statue of him down on the riverfront down in Fort Bend.
Fort Bend, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then there was Dinah Shore,
She wasn't, that's his wife. That was George's wife.
but she was supposedly,
Really?
well, that's what I read. I believe everything I read.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
And then, John Denver. He was from Western Colorado, which is.
Yeah.
But I,
One of the astronauts, which one was it?
oh, yeah.
One of the very first ones. He was a church. Can't remember his name.
Probably a lot more than one.
One of the things, if you haven't been back in our library before you leave today, take a turn back here, and I don't know, Stacy, are you still,
I
do
don't
you wanna lead them back there and?
I can. Are we done? I can hit stop record if we're done.
More questions before she stops? Okay.
Well, I certainly thank you for being here and listening to me. I'm not a professional presenter by any means. I just want to try to share some of my knowledge with